I actually watched a video on this guy to try to learn what the heck it was. Like a Doctor Who lore video, you know? But I don't follow Doctor Who, so it just left me more confused. Alright, listen man, when I was in college, right, we used to play Crazy Eights to see who would do different things. You know, loser has to walk to the store. Winner gets to pick what music we get all juiced up to. It always drove my roommate nuts that as we were playing, I would make separate piles. I don't know why it drove him crazy. I wouldn't hide the cards, you know, I'd put them right out there, face down. But it would just make him nuts, dude. I just like the drama of the whole thing. We were all mentally ill anyways, you know, one of the guys wore a cowboy hat and a serape and would talk to squirrels. It was a good time. And that brings us to this guy, the Celestial Toymaker. Apparently this is Neil Patrick Harris mixed with Donny Osmond and Ray Liotta. Old Doogie Howser plays this guy in the show. The Toymaker is a typical Doctor Who villain. He's a celestial being. Alright dude, whatever. No one knows his origin or why he likes to stick his hand up the butts of his dolls, you know, but here we are. So this is white, blue, and a black for a legendary creature, Rogue Artificer. It's a 2/4. Whenever the Celestial Toymaker attacks, look at the top 3 cards of your library, exile any number of them in a face-down pile and the rest in a face-up pile. Defending player chooses one of those piles, put that pile into your hand, so the other cards just remain exiled. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses 2 life for each spell or ability that caused one or more players to guess or to group cards or permanents into a pile this turn. So yeah man, this guy is secret lair only, so if you want a pile or guessing commander deck, not a poop pile or a pile bunker from Armored Core 6, but a pile commander deck, then you need to shell out for the secret lair. And listen man, are there even enough cards that put stuff into piles or make people guess to even bother with? Let's take a look. Let's start with an actual good card, Fact or Fiction. 3 and a blue for an instant, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. One of my all-time favorite cards. This is excellent graveyard fill-in goodness, plus you get some nice cards to hand. It confuses and disorients your opponents. This one's an all-star, has about 1 million printings with some banger art from the old days. Now wait a second, dude, we're not done with Fact or Fiction. We're over here with the Sphinx of Uthun. 5 blue for a creature Sphinx, it's a 5/6 with flying. When this guy enters the battlefield, you basically just Fact or Fiction. Look man, I know people think this card is garbage, but I've won games on the back of this Diesel Sphinx. Fact or Fiction on a stick with triceps and blue hair. This is an excellent recursion target or a fantastic card to blink or copy. I used to keep my hand full on Orvar. I think it's a banger, brother. Hostile negotiations. Former President Donald Trump piloting one of them ships out there, man. 3 and a black for an instant, exile the top 3 cards of your library in a face-down pile. Then exile the top 3 cards of your library in another face-down pile. Look at the cards in each pile, then turn a pile of your choice face up. An opponent chooses one of the piles. Put all cards in the chosen pile into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. You lose 3 life, you idiot. We also have this. It's black Fact or Fiction. Similar cost, a slightly different effect. This is a winner of a card, man. Lets you dig deep and feed the yard, which seems to be a common theme in these pile cards. I really dig this card as a utility draw spell in a reanimator deck. And we also have Sauron's Ransom. 1 and a black for an instant. Choose an opponent. They look at the top 4 cards of your library and separate them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. Put one into your hand and the other into your graveyard, and then the ring tempts you, brother. I don't know what's going on in this art, man. The mouth of Sauron's out there. He's handing over a dirty diaper. That's a war. That's a declaration of war, brother. Gandalf looks really ashamed of himself, and that's better commander, dude. Anyways, kind of a mini pile guessing game that can be a little bit fun for 3 mana. Does Jace, Architect of Thought, make piles? Yes, he does, dude. -2, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one pile into your hand, the other on the bottom of your library in any order. I call this guy 28 cents Jace. This fella is pretty mediocre, and for some reason he's giving you a real stinky look, man. Better watch that face, Jace. Oh, now we're talking. Liliana of the Vale. 1 black for a legendary planeswalker, Liliana with loyalty 3. +1, each player discards a card. -2, target player sacrifices a creature. Or -6, separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice. I remember when everybody got all mad when Liliana forgot to bring her boobs to Dominaria, dude. Get over yourself, buddy. Anyways, that -6 is the only pile relevant ability, and it's just do or die, which is the next card. Liliana also feeds into Reanimator theme with all that discard and sacrifice going on. Do or die. Now this I believe is a good card. I don't know. This is also an invasion rare. Separate all creatures target player controls into 2 piles. Destroy all creatures in the pile of that player's choice. They can't be regenerated. Listen man, back in the old days, all the cards had minotaurs with eye patches on them, and that's just what it was. We didn't ask questions back then, we just got over it. I think this is a great card, man, but what the heck do I know? Make an example, 3 and a black for a sorcery. Each opponent separates the creatures they control into 2 piles. For each opponent, you choose one of their piles. Each opponent sacrifices the creatures in their chosen pile. Piles can't be empty. Can be empty. This is another creature killing, graveyard filling card that's a do or die on steroids for 2 more mana. I think this is a little better. I imagine this is a good card for Tear Grid, but that's a deck for monsters anyway. Boneyard Palais, 5 black for a sorcery. Exile up to 5 target creature cards from graveyards. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put all cards from the pile of your choice onto the battlefield under your control and the rest into their owner's graveyards. Now we get into some reanimator effects, but guess what, dude? This card is not very good. So now we're already into crappy pile territory, and it's only about 8 cards in. How about guesses? Surely the guess mechanic has a bunch of cards that we can build a commander deck around. Well, guess what? There's only a couple. Master of Predicaments, 3 blue for a creature Sphinx. It's a 4/4 with flying. Whenever Master of Predicaments deals combat damage to a player, choose a card in your hand. That player guesses whether the card's mana value is greater than 4. If that player guessed wrong, you may cast the card without paying its mana cost. Designed by David Serlin. Alright, cool. It's just an old Sphinx, dude. It's kind of a cool card, but listen man, this is only about 26 cents with 1 printing and it's a rare. So I don't think it's that fantastic. Then you have Gollum Scheming Guide, 1 and a black for a legendary creature, Halfling Horror. It's a 2/1. When Gollum Scheming Guide attacks, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put them back in any order, then choose land or non-land. An opponent guesses whether the top card of your library is the chosen kind. Reveal that card. If they guess right, remove Gollum from combat, otherwise you draw a card and Gollum can't be blocked this turn. This is the Lord of the Rings himself. It's kind of a neat little guessing game. I guess it's pretty fun, dude. But again, not a fantastic card. So this begs the question, as Jorah is asking this little mushroom fella, is it enough to build a deck around? You know, are we guessing and building piles? Sadly, it is not. I am a sucker for Esper commanders. I have 2 Esper decks, but this guy doesn't have the critical mass of support cards to make a decent deck happen. 2 life at the beginning of the end step doesn't happen often enough to make this a viable payoff strategy. Contrast this with the unique and broad cards like Alila, Artful Provocateur. This is an Esper commander that you can go in a bunch of different directions with, man, and she has the tools to make that happen. Or how about this guy, the ever-changing Dane over here? Just a really neat card. Sacrifice outlet in the command zone with a pretty sweet ability. I did a whole video on this guy, love it. That said, it's a neat card, this Toymaker. Doesn't really make me want to purchase a secret lair, but if you're a Doogie Howser fan, then go all in on this dingus, I guess. I don't like when they put mechanically unique Doogie Howsers in the secret lairs. Kinda ruins my whole vibe, dude. And this one's kind of a stinker anyways. Snicky G from Better Commanders signing off.